Joining us now, South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Congresswoman, are you making any predictions about what happens tonight?
Well, since they're having a vote tonight on a Sunday night, I believe and I hope and I pray that it will pass the House Budget Committee. And look, I understand as a fiscal conservative where our budget hawks are wanting to ensure we're reducing spending. I sympathize with those representatives that want SALT provisions moderated here in this bill. And I can't think that Dad coming home from his historic Middle East trip, it couldn't be at a more perfect time. We may need the president to help weigh in here to bring everybody together. But this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I have whipped votes for President Trump, and I will do it again to make sure that we deliver on his America First agenda.
Okay, so but what do you say to those who say that this doesn't cut spending enough and doesn't raise income enough?
Well, that's one of the things they're trying to work out on the House Budget Committee, and I hope they can come to a resolution tonight. I think it will pass because they're going to have this rare vote on a Sunday night, on a weekend night, and I'm with the folks that want $2 to $2.5 trillion in cuts. We've got to have cuts, but we've got to make sure that we get every single Republican on board with their vote. If not every Republican votes for it, then it's at a risk of not happening. And the other thing I want to insist today is that this isn't the only reconciliation bill we can have. We can actually have multiple reconciliation bills. So if we can't come to an agreement now, I hope we can make an agreement to go back to the well in a second or third reconciliation bill if that's what it takes. But we have the room to cut. I hope that we cut. This is the first step, but we may need the president to weigh in here.
Speaking of presidents, let's talk about the former president, Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. That audio was leaked of his conversation with the special counsel, who was investigating him. Are you surprised at what that tape reveals? I mean, we have read the transcripts before, but when you actually heard the audio, did it surprise you?
No, it didn't. I mean, it just goes to show the cover-up by the Biden administration, by the former president, by the mainstream media. They all covered for Joe Biden for the last 4 years. And when the transcript came out, as you know, they wouldn't release the tapes. And we begged for the tapes to be released. And there was a reason for that because of his cognitive decline. You can't autopen your way through the Constitution, which is what he attempted to do. And it's just more proof that Republicans were right, Donald Trump was right, and that there was a massive cover-up on the ability for the president of the United States, former president, to actually act as president.
So what should happen? There is talk of investigations of maybe, I guess, the former president's staff. Do you think that's appropriate?
I do. In fact, I'm for investigating anyone who tried to cover this up. This is, I believe, if we had investigated when he was the former president, we would have been in a constitutional crisis. And so it's important that we have truth and honesty with the American public, even when we disagree, even when there are rival political parties. The American people deserve the truth and nothing but the truth.
Also, one of the things in the news these days is the former FBI director, James Comey, who tweeted out that photo, 8647. He apparently thought it was cute when he put it up there, seashells on a beach. It has since been deleted. He said he wasn't advocating violence. What do you say about his post?
Well, to James Comey, he knows better. The second thing I want to say is that the president, Donald Trump, has now survived not one, but 2 assassination attempts. And we still don't even know what happened in the first attempt at Butler Township, Pennsylvania. This is not a joke. It's not funny. This is an attempt by mainstream media and Democrats to mock these kinds of threats. And I know firsthand, like the president, I just had someone arrested this week for threatening to assassinate me. And thankfully, the judge denied bond. We need to take all of these threats seriously. There's no room for political violence in this country. And I hope that the Secret Service and everyone else is protecting the president as best as they can, because these people aren't going to stop until he's dead. And we cannot allow that. Yeah,
the SLED folks in your state, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, I believe is the acronym. They did a great job picking up this activist who was threatening your life.
Yep, they sure did. And for me, it was hard as a mom to be in the bond hearing and see a 19-year-old who threatened to shoot me and was serious about it. And to hear the judge believe that he was a credible threat, it was hard for me to watch it as a mother and to see his family there. And I pray for this man that he finds purpose in his life and realizes through this tough time, through the consequences, and I hope he's prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, that political violence of any stripe, of any Political ideology is not okay in this country. I live in fear. I look over my shoulder. My kids are afraid that they're going to get shot or their mom's going to be shot. And many of us live with this fear on a daily basis. And these kinds of things need to be taken seriously. I'm enormously grateful to SLED and the Capitol Police for doing their job and making this arrest and making it swiftly.
South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace, appreciate your time today.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.